Feeling a little nervous, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and start rolling solo. Good evening, everyone. Hello and good time zone, and welcome to another episode of Rolling Solo. This is campaign 3, episode 4, session 4, in which hopefully we'll advance the plot. I am your host, Paul. This is a solo Daggerheart role playing show. So if you don't know what Daggerheart is or you don't know what role playing is, hey, welcome. Um, I don't know how the heck you found me. Um, so that is the game system that we're playing. That is the thing that we're doing is a solo campaign. So with that, let me just drop into a little bit of background. Try to get this done quickly. Um, all right, so we're playing in a campaign frame called the Witherwild, which is one of the is the campaign frame that's available on the Daggerheart SRD. Um, and the idea of the Witherwild is that there are two countries, Fainwick and Haven. Uh, Haven is having a problem with a great sickness. They have invaded Fainwick. They have plucked the eye out of a god of Fainwick, Nicta the Great Owl. They have plucked out his what is called his reaping eye, leaving his sowing eye in place. And because Nicta controls the seasons, um, because he controls the seasons, that means there's an eternal spring, um, a growing season that is constant. And Haven has done this because there is a plant, a flower, that holds the key to the cure to the disease that Haven has. It can only grow in the Fainwick. They need the growing space, so they've taken over some land and they have moved in and are now planting vast fields of these flowers in the hopes of getting that rare red blossom, one in 10,000, that holds the key to curing this serpent sickness, this fatal disease that is running wild in Haven right now. So their motives are, if not pure, at least understandable. And however, they have displaced a lot of people and they are causing a lot of uproar in Fainwick. The campaign is named the Witherwild because there is something called the Witherwild, which is um, a kind of sickness that is also being going through all the plants and animals of Fainwick, causing them to grow to enormous sizes, causing them to be in distorted shapes, causing non-carnivorous plants to become carnivorous. Cats living with dogs, chaos reigns. It's a bad situation. Into this bad situation step Soot and Shade, our witch and our warlock, twins from the treetop village of Alula. They have been recruited um, with a bag of gold and the promise of more to come by Simrock and Lee, the a deputy in command of the uh, intelligence forces of Haven. There is a mysterious figure known as the Fainwraith who it appears wants to find the great owl and pluck out its reaping eye, thus ending the eternal spring. Um, what else that could possibly do? Nobody has really thought that far through yet, and certainly not the Fainwraith, which is why Simrock wants them stopped. Um, we have in the last couple of sessions, we've traveled through the wilds a bit, and as the twins are on their way back to the village of Alula, to I think that's the name of the village. You know what? We're just going to go with it and hope that I get it right. They're going back to their home village in order to try to find the Fainwraith. When we last left off, um, Sage and Soot had been beset by withered wolves, these um, giant creatures who were larger and than regular wolves and misshapen and swollen in some kinds of ways. And rather than fight them, the twins, especially Shade, attempted to commune and calm these beasts down. A thing that she was able to do, but at great cost. She is quite injured, as is her brother Soot. And the two of them, as we open, are sitting underneath a tree in the long 7-day night of the land of Fainwick. So that's where we open. There's a forest. There is bioluminescent flowers here and there, shedding a dim light on this scene. Soot and Shade, these two kind of anthropomorphic jackalopes with their horns and their rabbit legs and their kind of rabbity faces, are sitting underneath this tree, kind of bleeding profusely. And as we kind of come in, we can see that Soot is, even though he looks a little bit worse for wear, is kind of holding on to Shade, who is emotionally stressed out by this activity of trying to calm these wolves while other wolves attacked her. And, she took enough damage to kill her, but, was able to use her warlock powers to pass some of that damage over to Soot. And he is going to use an ability known as Healing Field. And he can use this once per long rest. And so as he sits there and is kind of holding on to Shade, and she's kind of holding on to him, and they're sitting there together, trying to kind of comfort each other through their blood, you see a field of healing plants, of these kind of creeping little green stalks, and little white flowers begin popping up in a kind of starting at and originating at Soot and sort of spreading out for about 30 feet. And he will spend his last 2 hope. And they will both clear 2 hit points. We have, by the way, leveled up, because we level up every episode. There's only going to be 10 of these, so we're now level 4. Did I say this was session 4 earlier? I might have said session 3. Ignore that, old ball. The new one says it's session 4. And they're kind of quietly talking to each other. Soot is saying, "Sister, that was incredibly rash. I can't believe you got away with that. Just tell the animals we're in such pain, brother. They need help, not harm. Well, I wouldn't want to try that on that beastie that we saw 2 days ago, now would you? That pincer the size of that burrower the size of a horse would have eaten you up before you could calm it down. Well, I'm not saying it's a perfect plan every time, but I felt I needed to try something different. It's kind of, we're not fighters, but we're not healers either, but we're not fighters. I don't know what we are, but I'm not a killer. Well, I don't want to be a killer either, but the world is getting rougher and rougher every day. There's nothing we can do about it." And they sit and contemplate this. Having been beset by bandits a day ago, they're kind of disturbed by this way that the relatively peaceful Fenwick has been changed over time. But the two of them, having found their way back to the path, the trail that leads to their home, back to Alula, will make a march and head that direction. And we will find out if they make it there without incident. So let's see. I think it's pretty darn likely that they do. So let's go ahead and roll a d10 and see what happens. That's a d12. That's a d20. That's a percentage die. That is a d10. Alright, so 2. What oracle was I even rolling on? I think we should decide what oracle we're rolling on before we roll, don't you? I think so too. Because that 2 could be good. It could be that it was way easier than expected. Or it could be... no, definitely not. So let's say that... let's say that we are going to just play a random beat here for their journey home. And we'll see if anything pops up on the random beat. Okay, 5. Meet or recall a notable character. So as they're walking, we're going to get introduced to an NPC. Who is this crazy character that we meet or recall a notable character? Well, first off, let's answer some questions. Let's ask some questions. Is this someone we know already or someone we don't know at all? And let's roll a D100 and see what we get on our character stereotype sheet. We're using PumSum, the plot unfolding machine and the game unfolding machine and the scene unfolding machine as our engines for today. Let's roll a D100 and see what we get. $60. We meet an explorer. Okay. We meet an explorer. What is the ancestry of this explorer that we meet? Let's roll for that. That is a 20 and a 4. No, 20 and a 6. And I ignore 2s. Alright. So there we rolled a 14. So a 14 would be a 14 Galapa. Do we need a... what is the gender presentation of our Galapa? That is a 12, which is male. So these are some tables that I made up for rowing for Decker Art stuff. So we have met a male Palapa explorer. What else do we know about this guy? What is he doing? So as they're kind of walking along, kind of limping along, really, on their way home, they meet this old... They see sitting underneath a tree. They don't see him at first because it's quite dark. But sitting underneath a tree is a kind of a Galapa man of indeterminate age, sitting with a staff and a pack and what looks like, and he's kind of snacking, and he sees them kind of pass, and then as they come passing by, he is going to, we'll roll for this too. That's 8. He appears sad. Too sad or emotional to meet them normally. So he is kind of humming to himself a sad tune. He's humming a sad tune. As they approach, he looks up. And what's something we can tell about them from a distance? No, that doesn't work. So we're gonna... That does not work at all. I'm gonna stick with this. They are sad. He is sad. He is humming some kind of tune to himself as he is eating his meal sitting underneath this tree. Soot Shade will stop to talk to him, and they will ask him, they will say, they'll give him a greeting. Good day, stranger. Says, actually, Shade is the more outgoing of the two, so she'll say, good day, stranger. Good evening, rather. He looks up at them and says, well, you two look like you've been through something. Been fighting the withered. We've had some conflict, yeah. Hasn't been easy on the road back from wherever we were when we started this game. It hasn't been an easy journey from Low Passage. I don't suppose it has. We have a hell of a time to be traveling. Aye, that it is. And I'm going to condense this conversation rather than trying to make up dialogue on the spot because, this man's name, as he gives them his name, is Here we go. Let's give him a name. Abellus is his name. Name's Abellus. What brought you here from Low Passage? Ah, well. We were just in Low Passage for a bit of spot of work. We thought we'd head back home to Alula to see, as the work is done, it's time to go home. Ah. You, mind if, sit a spell. What have you been, tell me about this conflict that you had. And they will describe the fight with the wolves and what happened with that. And he will, hearing all of this, you know, they'll talk about how they, Shade will talk about how she, you know, didn't fight the wolves, but I tried to commune with them, and it seemed to work, and they shrank back down to their normal size, and they ran away, and I was able to, well, I mean, it took a lot out of me, but here I am. I see. That's fascinating. Haven't heard many folks who have tried to cure this problem rather than just fight it. And let's get a secret about this guy. Let's see. Let's just Oracle die this and say, what I want to know is, does this guy know anything about the Fainwraith? He does. What does he know about the Fainwraith? We don't know, but he knows something. So well, don't let me keep you, but I'm heading to Alula way myself, so hopefully I'll run into you in town there somewhere. Again, you know, name was Abellus. I'm Soot, that's my brother Shade. Or I'm Shade, that's my brother Soot. Good evening to you. So it stops us. Why don't you just travel with us, stranger? Safer with three than with one, I would think. And Bill also nods, well, that's true. He kind of pack his, you know, get himself packed up and start walking away with them. They would walk towards the town together. And as they're walking, Shade is going to talk to him a little bit about... she wants to get his thoughts on the Witherwild. You say that there's very few folks trying to do something about it, trying to fix it rather than fight it. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about what you mean by that. What do you think should be done? And we will go ahead and make a roll. And we'll give this guy a difficulty of 14. And this is Shade trying to make a presence roll to see if she can get this guy to trust her. and tell her something about some, just trying to get some trust, trying to get some real information from him about her interest is piqued by people fighting it. Alright, so that is... She's full up on hope, so she won't take any. But that is a 16, 17, 18, 19 with hope. So he will say, well, you know, it's terrible, sad things been happening to our land. Desperate times call for desperate measures. I think I know of some... I was hoping to meet up with some folks in Alula, some folks that maybe were trying to take some desperate measures. What were you know? And who were these folks? Have you heard of someone named Fainwraith? That is an 18, but it's with fear. So on an 18 with fear, Shade's going to take a stress. She's not used to carefully interrogating people. And he's put on his back foot just a little bit, but he'll say, I might have done. Why? And, Shade will... Does she spend a hope to tell a lie? Well, she's full up on hope. Just full up on it. So she's just going to say... well, we heard some people in Low Passage talking about how there was someone in this village who might be trying to do something good and fix the Witherwild forever, to change the withering. And we heard about this person. We heard them called the Fainwraith. So the truth is, man, the truth is, sir, we came back here hoping to meet up with her ourselves. Which is partially true. But she'll spend a hope to get an advantage on this roll. Okay. Well, is that the roll? I think it is. Yeah. That's a 3. That's a 3. And that's a 3. So she will get her hope back. She will clear her stress. He 100% believes that they are fellow freedom fighters, which is not that far from the truth, really. I'll say, well, can't say I know myself who this Fainwraith is, but I've been given a means of contacting them. So maybe we can try that when we get to Alula. And Soot will pop in and say, maybe we can, but I think that first I'd like to get a hot bath. And that will cut the scene. So we're gonna do some dissolving here. We're gonna cut around. Our next scene will be Soot in said hot bath, and kind of with his giant feet up, kind of relaxing there, by himself. We'll cut to another scene. We'll see Shade's drying herself off, and kind of one moment. And they are taking a long rest. So let's go through some long rest activities here. We'll start with Soot. Let's see. Soot is going to take 3 long rest moves and will clear all his stress, clear all his hit points, and clears 1 armor slot. So he spends his time repairing his gambusing armor, um, uh, getting some sleep, getting some hit points restored. He takes some time for a good long rest. Shade, and Shade is going to use her close knit feature of being a Hearthborn to take 3 of her hope and give them to Soot, so that Soot has 3 hope and she has 3 hope. And Shade will clear her own hit points down. She wasn't actually looking all that bad. She will definitely fix her armor after that healing rest that they had. After Soot's ability to create the healing field, they were both in much better shape. And then privately, she will she has an ability to she has a warlock. Her patron is the patron of silence and pain. A small god who she met at, or made an arrangement with when the Witherwild started. She will spend one of her downtime moves to tithe to her patron. What does she tithe to her patron? She tithes pain. She somehow manages to, she will inflict upon herself some kind of injury. Nothing that doesn't heal over the course of the long rest, but something that draws blood and causes damage and causes her a great deal of pain. And that is her tithe to her patron. As she endures this in silence. So she does that. She meditates for quite some time, quietly, ties to her patron, and gains 2 more favor. And so that will be our long rest moves. So the next day, they're going to meet up with this fortuitous meeting that they with this Galapa that they ran into in the forest, fortuitously, who knows something about how to connect to the Fainwraith. And they will go to the inn where they heard that he was, where they dropped him off the night before. They, of course, have their own, being natives of the town, have their own place to stay. So they go to the tavern where they dropped him off the evening before. So let's talk a little bit about this town. It is so this town of Alula is far south in the Fenwick, and is kind of it's a bit of an Ewok village. It's a bit of a Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves kind of village in the treetops kind of place. Not that there's nothing on the ground. There are numerous structures and buildings on the ground, but there's also, because of the size and breadth and oddly, the trees here are huge, such that you could put an entire house in the branches of one. And they are wide in that the branches of this particular kind of tree kind of seem to grow into each other as if it's one kind of organism. The branches twine and form natural pathways from tree to tree. Everything is quite low. The villagers do a certain amount of trimming and shading to get light in from outside of this kind of constricted canopy, but in this grove that they have, there are lots of natural pathways between trees. There are footbridges hanging between these trees. It's nighttime, so because it is, we're only on our fourth day, I think. Let's see. 1, 2. Yeah, this is the third, 24-hour period of night. And because night in this area and day last 7 of what we would call days, 7 24-hour periods. And there are animals that are nocturnal, there are animals that are diurnal, there are animals that are only active during sunrise and sunset, which are these long, many hours of time that the sun actually spends setting and rising. And then there are animals that, that like most of the sapient races, spend some time, they sleep and wake up during day and night. They don't, they're not tied to the day-night cycle. They're more tied to their own internal physical cycle of hunger and tiredness. They sleep when they need to sleep. They hunt when they need to hunt. And their metabolisms are geared such that they will have several waking and sleeping times over the course of a day and night. So that's kind of the scenario with how things are here. So there are Soot and Shade live, have a kind of their home is not up in the trees. It is sort of kind of stuck on a trunk, as it were, partway up below the canopy. They have this kind of ramshackle-ish house stuck up, that's near the trunk of a tree. That is it's large. It's a largish building. It has, on the surface, on the ground of Alula, there are some streets and shops and towns, and this is kind of what looks like it might be sort of an apartment building. a tenement house that they live in. You know, common bathing situation kind of place. And that's where we see them leave from, and then they will, you know, make their way by ladder and staircase and up to the first level of the kind of treetop area where this tavern that they left their Galapa friend at. You know, he saw this place and he wanted to stay in the treetops. And there are, of course, because it is nighttime, there are again kind of our ever-present bioluminescent flowers and bioluminescent mosses and things that give a faint glow. But there are also just lanterns everywhere throughout this village, kind of giving us a sort of you know, magical feel to the whole thing. So they make their way up and into this tavern. It is morning-ish, and Abelus is spending his time eating. You know, he's there eating a meal, and sees them. Welcome, friends. Come on in. And they come to sit at his table. He kind of sketches out their meeting plans. You know, he's like, this is the tavern where he believes that this is where he was told to meet a contact, and he was given the name of a contact to meet. And he's planning on meeting that contact today. And so he's like, this is, you know, I don't know how they're going to feel about me bringing you two in, so why don't you sit at another table, and I'll bring you over if things go well. You should be here in the mid-morning. And so Soot Shade sit there, and they wait for the contact to show up. And after a bit, someone does show up. Let's see, what is that? 5 and 5 is 10. 10 gets us a fairy. Then gets us a fairy. This is a fairy of indeterminate gender. Fairy of indeterminate gender, who you know, comes. So there's Abella sitting at his table, you know, enjoying his mid-morning meal, and this about 1.5 foot tall fairy, this kind of iridescent green, kind of beetleish, you know, but with you know, 2 arms, 2 legs, not 6 arms, 6 legs, but kind of looking beetleish and chitinous, with like these sharp spikes along their arm. This fairy kind of comes buzzing in, and kind of looks around the room and about Abellis's table, something that, you know, Abellis has his cup out in a certain place, or he's got a token on the table, or something along those lines. The fairy notices and comes over. And the two of them are having this hushed conversation, and we can hear we can't hear the conversation. We don't know what they're saying, but you know, Soot and Shade are kind of nervously drinking their beers off in the corner, waiting to see what happens. And after a bit, Abellis waves them over. Fairy introduces, and they come over, and you know, Abellis has him sit down. Soot, Shade, this is Tice. Tice, this is Soot and Shade. I met them on the road. They seem like good kids who are ready to make a difference. And this fairy kind of looks at them straight in the eye and just is like, asks them, you know, alright, well, this is alright. Well, tell me your story. And they will, you know, Shade once again starts with, well, we were, you know, doing a spot of work out in, we were doing a spot of work, and we heard some rumors that back here in our hometown, and this is our hometown, we heard that there was a person here who was trying to do something to stop the Witherwild for good. And we thought, well, if there's something like that going on, we want to be a part of it. We want to help, because this is a desperate time. And so we packed up our stuff from I can't remember the name of this town. Packed up our stuff from Low Passage and headed here as soon as we could. And she is going to roll to deceive. She is going to spend a hope to get Deaf Deceiver, which will be a +6. So with a +3, or with a +3, she will also burn another hope to use her experience. I'll handle it since she's doing the talking for both of them. So this is roll with advantage, +5. Alright, so let's see what we got here. The DC on this was 16, just in case I forgot to say that. Which this is 20. With fear. So on that 20, with fear, again, you know, Shade's going to get a little stressed for that. Burned a lot of hope for that. Burn that. She is believed. And this insect says, well, I guess we need all the recruits we can get. Why don't you come with me? Why don't you be at this tavern? And he gives him a different address. At about 10 o'clock tonight. And we'll see what happens. And with that, having advanced the plot just a little bit, I think with that we are going to close the session. No real combat today, but you know that's okay. Let's just make a note. Okay. Yeah, but it's 50 minutes in, so we're gonna close there with this promise of meeting with the Fainwraith on the horizon for our hero. So, and we said just a moment ago, a past version of me said that we were going to stop, but current me in this moment is going to say we're just going to keep going with this episode for just a few more minutes and see what happens. So, where we left off just a little bit ago, Shade and Soot, along with the Galapa that they met on the streets, Abellis, had just met with Tice, who is the... Tice is a fairy who is the kind of go-between for this mysterious figure known as the Fainwraith. And they had been given, at that time, some instructions as to where to go to meet with the Fainwraith. I'm going to retcon that. We're going to retcon that just a little bit. And we're going to stay in this moment in the... we're going to stay in the tavern for a moment. We have Tice kind of standing on the table, sitting cross-legged on the table. Shade and Soot have kind of come and sat on one side of the table. Abellis is sitting on the other side of the table. And they have just gotten to the point where Tice is giving them the information about where to meet with the Fainwraith. And what he says is, all right then, follow me. And he is going to get up and lead them back in the tavern, back out of the tavern, and kind of along the treetop streets of Alula. In the dark with the lanterns and all of that happening. He will lead them into the upper canopy. This is a vast network of trees, as we've said. There's very large trees that are kind of grow together and form these branch highways between them. And so there's the ground, there's the next canopy, there's an upper canopy above that. Which he will lead them onto some stairs around a tree trunk up into the upper canopy. And along there to... and then the upper canopy is a little bit less populous than the lower canopy. There seem to be fewer structures built. The structures here are kind of built out in the branches of trees, away from, as these trees kind of grow together, as there are ropes between the trees, there are ladders, rope bridges, in between the trees. There are buildings built up into the various branches and parts where they don't so much grow together. So it leads them up into this kind of secondary level up farther, and along and around and out onto a branch to in the fork of some branches high up, there is a very small structure. And it's not exactly a house. It's like a working spot, and it's too small to be a home. It's too large to be a shed. Is it an office? Is it a studio space? We don't know, but it's kind of off the beaten path. Tice will go up and knock on the door, and we enter. And what was not clear, because as we enter, we can see that the windows of this place have these heavy curtains across the windows to block them out. It's a space that is mostly looks a lot like an artist's studio. It's a lot of open space. There's a lot of light from the ceilings, and on the walls are maps everywhere of the Fenwick, um, with circles and notations on these kind of larger maps showing parts of the Fenwick, and sitting at a desk near the back of the room is a, let's see, what kind of being is this? Six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is a female presenting. $19 is human. Okay. And let's see if we can get some other descriptors. Let's put them at... so there's a middle-aged human woman sitting at a desk. She is dressed in fairly plain clothes, lots of green. Looks like clothes that you might wear. She looks like a ranger, really, is what she looks like, as you would think of, someone who's used to traveling in the forest. There's a as they look around the room, they will notice, various things like the bow in the corner, a long bow, and packs and things that make it look like this is an outdoor person. This is somebody who travels a great deal. So, she looks up as they come in, and they close the door, and she says, Tice, who have you brought us? Tice says, well, this is Soot, this is Shade, and this is Abellis. They are 3 people who have come to join our cause. They seem really motivated to help solve this problem. She would give them a look and say, is that so? And we're just going to see if we can beat. So she's like, I'm going to say she's got like a 16 difficulty. And this is just them standing there. Do they show any signs of being anything other than what they're claiming to be? And so we will start. This will be a group deception check. In order to deceive, we will start with Soot. Soot will roll with a +1. He crits, so that is +1 on the check. Shade will roll with a... she will roll with advantage because she has Deft Deceiver and she has a hope to spend, so she'll spend it. And she will roll at advantage. And she will therefore roll with a +1, +3 for her presence, that's +4. +4 at advantage. So that is a 7 and a 3 and a 5. So that's 15 +4 is 19. And I will gain a fear, and she will take a stress. in order to compensate for that fear. So this woman looks at them for a long time and seems to be peering deeply into their souls. But after a long moment, she says, well, okay. Well, it's good that you're here now, because we believe we have spotted where the, and she's very excited about this. She says, we believe we've discovered where the owl has been hiding from us. This is amazing, and we're going to Shade or Soot. Let's see, who's got the better instinct? Soot is going to roll an instinct roll. This is +2. Can he spend a hope to use anything? Nope, he doesn't have anything useful. So this is a +2. This is him checking the walls to see if he can spot where she is most interested in looking. To see if he can spot where she is indicating the Great Owl has been found. That's a 7, that's a 6, that's a 13. +2 for instinct, that's a 15 with fear. He can't. And in fact, as he's doing so on that roll, that failure with fear, the Fainwraith does trust them. We had that before. But she will very quickly takes a moment, looks at him and says, well, you seem very curious as to where we're going, but don't worry. You'll find out soon enough. Tice, why don't you stay with our friends here? And make sure that they get to the rendezvous in the morning. We will be leaving then to begin our hunt. Okay. So I'm going to spend a fear just to have this happen, just to have Tice observing them and staying with them overnight. And the thing here is to keep them from discussing anything, obviously, in between the two of them. And so, Tice will come, and she bids them. Says, it's always good to meet new people. I'm excited, Soot and Shade, to have you join us. But I'm very busy, and we will get a chance to get to know each other better on the morrow. But for now, good day. And so they are taken out, and they will spend the rest of the afternoon and evening kind of being shadowed by Tice, and who will suggest that they pick up some supplies. So they will attempt to pick up some supplies. I think Alula is a big enough town that I'm going to go ahead and say that and let's look up our economy here and see, like, consumables, how much do things cost? in the Daggerheart world. Da, 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 da. 165. I've looked this up before. It doesn't really say, but it says that tier 1 equipment is 1 to 5 handfuls. So I'm going to say that for a couple of handfuls apiece, they can find some potions. And so they will pick up being completely out of potions at the moment, I think. Let me see. There's Soot. Here's Shade. Where's Shade? Shade has 1 minor stamina potion. Soot had a minor health potion, but we used it a while back, so Soot will spend a handful of gold. He'll spend 2 handfuls of gold. And he will pick up a minor health potion. And Shade will also spend 2 handfuls of gold, and she will pick up another minor health potion. So they at least have those on them. And so they do some shopping. Tier 2 equipment. One to 2 bags. I think that Shade has a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She has 1 bag. Shade has a bag. I think, what kind of tier 2 equipment would we want for a bag of gold? Tier 2. Let's see. So an improved scepter would be a d6 plus 3 magic damage as opposed to the d6 that she's currently rolling. So that would be nice. But what would... let's see if we've got separate tables for armor. We do. Improved leather armor would have a base score of 4 as opposed to a base score of 3. And base thresholds of 9 and 20 as opposed to base thresholds of 6 and 13. Okay, so Shade is going to spend all of her gold. For sure. And let's say that she gets a handful back for selling her current armor, and she will have improved leather, and the Improved leather armor gives her a base score of 4. So her armor score goes up to 4. Doesn't improve her evasion at all. I gotta quit closing this book on myself. It's really not helpful. Loot. Armor tables. Okay. And that was a base score of 9 and 20. So that would be 9, 20. So 9 plus 4 would be 13. 20 plus 4 would be 24. So her minor damage threshold goes up to 13, and her major damage threshold goes up to 24. Okay. So that's what Shade will do as far as like getting equipment. Soot. Currently has Gambesson armor, and he has 2 handfuls and 1 bag of gold. He will sell his Gambesson for a handful of gold, and he will spend his bag of gold on improved Gambesson. Improved Gambesson, which also has a base score of 4. So he will have 4 armor, which is better than 3 armor. It still gives him his +1 to evasion. And its base thresholds are no longer 5 and 11, but 7 and 16. Bringing his minor damage threshold from 9 to 11, and his major damage threshold from 15 to 20. So that's good. So that's that. They have, they will try to get a moment alone, and we'll see if they can do that. So let's see. That is going to be... we're going to make this... Tice's difficulty is 14. This is going to be a group presence check to see if they can get by him. And I'm going to spend a hope. On Look Over There from Soot, and he is going to make this presence roll, therefore, at a +4. Okay, 17. He makes the cut, but I get my fear back. So that's... Nope. That's a reaction roll. No hope, no fear. It's just a plain old 17. And then... so that's +1 on this roll for 14. Shade will spend... She doesn't really have a hope to spend. She's just going to get a +3 on this. +1 from him, so this is +4. We're looking to beat a 14. Yep, we pick up a hope. That's 9, 10, +4 is 14. Meets it, beats it. So they do get a moment alone. And so they have a moment to make a decision. Looks like we're kind of caught up in this now. We're not going to have time to... we're not going to have any time to use the sending stone to make the call. Hey, that's the truth. I suppose we're just gonna have to go along and see if we can figure out where we're going. But what's our plan in the long run? What do we want to do here? I don't know. I guess our options are we can go along with the troop. We can try to warn the to attempt to warn Haven of the what's going on and what direction we're headed. If we get the time and the space, we can try and avoid them. I don't know. You know, do we want to warn Haven, or do we want to warn the Great Owl? What do you mean, warn the Great Owl? I mean, warn the Great Owl. We don't know that. I mean, we? He should know that there's. They should know that there's people hunting them. Unless we want them to get their eye plucked out. And it's there, as they're having this hush conversation, Tice comes in. Oh, there you two are. I was wondering where you had gotten to. Well, come along. Lead on. Let's go to your place and get some rest. Heck, we can stop by a tavern and get a meal. My treat. And he will take them to a tavern and get them a meal. And that is where we will close session 4. So thank you very much for joining me on that little sidebar. I'm really happy that we were able to move forward. We will open in the morning as everyone is setting off, I think. We'll open after the moment that we just closed at. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that you've had some fun, and, keep rolling, y'all.